Well, hello again, friends, and welcome back to Friday Roll Call. And to the regular audience, you know how fired up I am to have you here. To our new audience, we've got a lot of new people this week. Welcome. And for those of you who don't know, this is the forum where we dig deeper into the principles that our team has introduced to you by way of our keynotes and breakout sessions, workshops, and the Top Gun Teamwork Program. And if you and I have not yet met, allow me to introduce myself. Name is Robert Teschner, call sign Cujo. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief instructor here at Team VMAX Group. And it's always a joy to get a chance to share a little bit of what's top of mind for me with you to help advance the cause of leadership and teamwork in our world, a world that really needs it, especially now. And we don't usually date stamp these Friday roll call messages, but I've got no problem doing so today, early April 2025, as we're experiencing the funky dynamics of tariffs and trade wars as we deal with all of the disruption of the now. And for those of you who don't know me, I spend a lot of time on the road. I do a lot of speaking through Vistage Worldwide. I meet business leaders on a weekly basis. I'm talking to Vistage chairs and CEOs and key leaders, and I'm hearing them. I'm hearing them talk about what it is that's top of mind, what's causing them anxiety and angst. And right now, there's a lot of anxiety and angst in the world. I was up in Canada not too long ago. In my hotel, the only conversation topic in the elevator, in the restaurant, in the hallways was what's going on between the United States and Canada. People canceling trips to Disney World, people hunkering down, buying a bunch of stuff in anticipation of the rising costs. I mean, it's for sure an interesting time, but for many of us, it's a very challenging time, and there's a lot of fear of what the future holds. And the question is, how are we as leaders doing navigating this fear? And so that's really the central question for today. And the answer from Team VMAX Group, a bunch of ex high performance team leaders, is we ought to embrace the heck out of this. We ought to embrace the heck out of the disruption of the now, because this is the forcing function that allows us, if we do it the right way, to build the kinds of teams that are different and so much better than our competitors. Because for sure they're living in fear and they're giving into anxiety. They're throttling back, they're hunkering down, and they've got a lot of worry. And that worry manifests itself in the way that the conversations are happening at the water cooler. That worry manifests itself in what it is that we're scaling back on. That worry manifests itself as we look at the metrics and we say, wait a second, we're not performing the way that we're used to. What does this mean for us? The worst teams give into that fear. The best teams use this disruption to forge the kinds of teams that dominate. Good simple illustration of the concept is, if you think back to the magnificent movie It's a Wonderful Life, as everything starts to fall apart economically, as there's the rush on the banks, there's one person in the town who keeps his cool initially. And that's the evil guy. It's the bad guy who starts buying things up, buying things up, buying things up. Yeah, and he starts buying things up because he knows that now's not the time to panic. Now's the time to build the foundation that when everything gets back to status quo is going to allow him to do really, really well. Now, I'm not saying we need to go out there and start buying things up, and I'm not saying we need to be evil. No, quite the opposite. I just say, number one, we need to keep our cool. Okay, that's really important. Number two, we've got to realize that the forcing function of disruption is it causes us, if we're wise, to start thinking and then to start innovating. Concept at play here is what got us to this point is probably not going to get us to the next point. And the earlier that we understand this and the earlier that we embrace it and start to think outside of the box and start innovating our way into a brighter tomorrow, the sooner it is we achieve it. Good. I'll go back to, and just from a very personal standpoint, remind you of the fact that when we got the cancer diagnosis, the devastating colorectal cancer diagnosis, the first thing I told my bride was our story just got better. Not because it technically had in that moment. In fact, it got really bad there for a long time, by the way. But the concept at play here is that the story that we're going to tell when we come through this disruption is going to be so much better than the story that we would be able to tell if nothing had disturbed us at all, if everything was just peaceful and calm all the way through. All right, so that's a piece of this. Another thing that I would share from not too distant past, we've all gone through COVID, and it was horrific in so many different ways, from the loss of life to the things that were done to people to the way that society was divided in the midst of that to all kinds of really really traumatic challenges. But one of the opportunities in that horrifically challenging time was is that many of us became tighter with our teammates. Many of us also found new ways to do what we do. Many of us found new things to do that were different from what we had done before. And that disruption challenged us, and we rose to the challenge and we innovated our way through it in the midst of all of the horrors. And that's pretty remarkable. And to anybody who's here, I mean, you made it through that. You came through successfully. So you're already a winner. Current disruption, it's challenging us to go back to and innovate our way into a brighter tomorrow. That takes leadership. Leaders stare disruption in the face and say, "Bring it on. Bring it on." Because all that's required of me now is to lead better than I did before. And I can't wait to do so. Because I know the benefit's going to be huge. And I know that the story that we're going to tell coming through this thing is going to be so much better. But that requires us to rethink how we're doing what we're doing, maybe even what it is that we're doing to innovate our way into a brighter tomorrow. The opportunity of the now is innovation. And the final piece that I would say is that the best leaders, they love the challenge. They would prefer actually the challenge to the steady state. Hey, nothing's really changing. It's the same thing we did yesterday. I mean, that actually lulls us into a sense of boredom. Boredom that leads to complacency. Complacency that can be dangerous for us. Real leaders don't enjoy that. Okay? And so this is the forcing function that's going to figure out who the real leaders are. And the real leaders know that leadership requires us to blend process and art to get people to give their all to help us to make it through the challenge and to do so willingly. And that process is the piece that so many of you are here because you've embraced it. So many of you have learned, and I'm looking at, I don't know, 450 plus Top Gun teamwork graduates to this point in time who have learned how to plan effectively, how to inspire with pre-mission briefings effectively, how to debrief to win effectively, understanding that we're going to debrief as a team to learn our way into a brighter tomorrow. You've been gifted the same tools that we rely on in the high performance team world of fighter aviation to navigate disruption. Now is the time to unleash that, to lead, to win. And you ought to be excited about it. Frankly, if your industry is getting rocked right now, if you're in turmoil right now, you've got the toolkit that's necessary to help lead your teammates confidently into a brighter tomorrow. All you got to do is rise to the occasion and do it. And it's not to say that it's going to be easy. Leadership is hard. Navigating disruption, that's challenging, but that's what's exciting about it. And doing it effectively is so rewarding. And so, fellow business warriors, let's rise to the occasion. Let us lead confidently. And going into this weekend, let's ask ourselves as leaders, where are we deficient? What do we need to focus on right now? Which components of what it is that we've learned or at least been exposed to do we really need to harness right now to help us to lead our teammates into a brighter end state by the end of the next week? That's a really good reflection for right now. And just know, as always, all of us here at Team VMAX Group are rooting for you as you do this. And if you need our help, we're here for you. And we want to support you. And I personally look forward to speaking with you again next Friday.